So let's
Well, you did it.
let's get this page on 1-10 outliers. We kind of started this a little bit. All right. So let me run through something that we should probably make sure we're good with, because it was probably the most missed question on the test. So when you're given data and they're asking you if it's skew right or skew left or normal, this is, I'm just going to make up arbitrary, and I have no idea if this would come to all right. So if you are given data and you want to take a look at the box plot, there's a few pieces of information that you have to know. So let me make that thicker for you. So let's say that's your box plot. So in your knowledge so far, would you feel that that would be normal, skew right, or skew left?
That looks skew.
Which rectangle is bigger, the one on the right or the one on the left?
Right.
The one on the right. So that is a very clear indicator. Let me change the color of this so it pops out a little bit better. So can you see how that rectangle appears that it would be somewhat skew to the right? Okay, because the rectangle on the right is bigger. That means the mean is being pulled to the right. Okay, but now there was a couple other things that I covered them a little bit. So if I just said I want to know what the mean of x1 is, and I want to know what the median of x1 would be. Okay. So the median is the very center. This is the very center. Agree? That's the median. They tell us the mean is 5.53. So that's definitely to the right of it. So if you had a box plot, you're not quite sure when you look at it, take a look at the mean and the median. If the mean is a larger number, a larger value than the median, it's skew right. If they're the same, even if your box plot looks like it could be right or left, if the mean and median are the same, it actually is relatively normal. And if the mean is a smaller number than the median, then it's skew left. Okay? So you can't always tell, and I just had made up some data, so I wasn't sure what it was going to look like, but you can't always tell by what the picture might be. You have to revert to the mean and the median. Okay? So that's just one thing just to recall. All right. So we talked about outliers the other day. I just introduced it. And so an outlier, if you have a box and whiskers graph, you have a min, you have a max, you have this line being Q1, this being the median, and this being Q3. If you wanted to know where out here might an outlier exist or where out here might an outlier exist, that's the thing. So if you wanted this one being a lower outlier, and I know I've already talked this, I just want to go back through it. You're going to take Q1 minus 1.5 times the IQR. So remember, the IQR is just Q3 minus Q1. Okay? And then if I wanted to determine if I have an upper outlier, that's going to be Q3 plus 1.5 times IQR. Okay? So sometimes you might look at the box and whiskers and it might not Desmos, like let's say you have a really far out outlier and you didn't graph your graph big enough, like you didn't do zoom out, far enough to see an outlier. Those two things will tell you where an outlier would start to exist, out to the left or out to the right. Okay, so they talk about this person. Her name is Samantha. She went bowling, and she had scores of 110, 90, 106, 112, 88, 148, and 109. So if she looks over at her results, and 148 probably stands out a little bit, maybe if you're looking at that, like had a really good game. We want to know, is it truly an outlier? So they run through the math. So let's put this box plot up so I can figure out what my quartiles would be, because that's not a 5-number summary. So let's get rid of this. All right, so we have scores of 110 and 90 and 106 and 112 and 88 and 148, 109. Okay, so if you can't see the picture, your data, wait, where is it? Oh, my data's at right now. So I'll just zoom and find it. There we go. The orange blob. All right. So let's say you have it looking like this right now. You kind of, if you scroll to the right, you'll see another orange dot way out there. That orange dot is indeed an outlier. But let's verify that it is an outlier. First off, is that outlier to the right or to the left of our picture? To the right. Okay, so the outside to the right, I want to find this. So this would be at like 110. So that's about 112. So I have 1.5. 1.5 times the IQR. So let's figure out the IQR. So I have 112 is the 1. I'm going to have to subtract it. This looks like it'd be about 90. And then I need to close my parentheses. And B in 112 was Q3 times 112 or plus 112. So that basically says that if you get out to 145, that becomes a true outlier. Even though our graph line, this whiskers line, doesn't keep going this way, it says this right here becomes the outlier. Okay, we said this as an outlier is 145. She scored a 148, which is even further to the right. So that definitely encourages. But look how close, if 145 is where the outliers do indeed start existing, her 148 is pretty close to that. So if that would have been, say, a 138, which would still be way out here, the 138 would be considered an outlier by using the test. You would have to definitely use those two equations, the 1.5 times the IQR, or Q3 plus 1.5 times the IQR, or Q1 minus 1.5 times the IQR. You definitely have to use those. As far as they did the math up there for the lower bound of 57, there are not any outliers to the left. If you just look at your data set, there's nothing smaller in that region. I would say that 57. So, so that means any value between 57 and 145 would not be considered an outlier for this information. Does that make sense? So yes, you do see a dot out here. Desmos is correct, making a dot where that outlier exists. But that outlier, just because my whiskers, my little straight lines to the left and right, only go out so far, that just means that if I had more data in there, it would still encompass within the region from the max to the min before becoming an outlier. That's the big thing. So those two, you will definitely see those two things. So you make sure you have that highlighted as a place that you can find it in your notes so you can be successful on a test or quiz. Okay, which you guys are. So, but I just want to make sure that's there. So now we get to this weird stuff. What do statisticians do with outliers? You investigate them. Why did we have an outlier that took place? Okay, now I'm talking about if you had plugged in a data set more than you know, like a couple hundred numbers you put in. If you had some outlier that existed, you want to check a couple of things because it's possible your outlier might have existed because you might have put the number incorrectly. This takes me back. So if you haven't figured it out yet, I'm kind of the guy that wants to always try and do what's best for kids. Agree? And hopefully I've kind of modeled that, and I'm trying to look out what's best for kids. That's why I run my classroom a certain way. That's why I do tests and quizzes in here a certain way. I'm trying to look out for the best, what's best for kids. But when I used to live in Littleton, I lived by Powell Middle School, which is a feeder middle school to Arapahoe High School. I lived on Nichols Avenue, and Corona Way went right along the Gulch to the middle school. So if you came in through the front of the middle school, front of the middle school, it was a flashing, 25-mile-an-hour school zone to protect kids. Agree? Like, they don't want you doing 70 miles an hour through the neighborhood because, like, kids are there. And kids are going to do unpredictable things. So if you're doing the appropriate speed limit that they're indicating you should do, theoretically, you might be able to see somebody do something silly so you can stop in time. And I will assure you, you don't want to get into accidents. You can't, that's not something you, whenever any of you get behind the wheel of your car, you're not saying, man, I hope I get in a crash today. Okay? And I'm pretty sure you don't get in a car saying, man, I can't wait to run somebody over. Okay? Those things are, a life-changing event. If you ran over a child and you were negligent in breaking the law, that honestly is going to be something that's going to haunt you for the rest of your life. Okay? Especially if you end that person's life. It's horrible. And you don't want to stick with it. But so on the back way coming up Corona Way, it was not a flashing school zone sign. So I contacted the city of Littleton, and the city of Littleton says, oh, you're too close to Centennial, so that's not our jurisdiction. So I contacted the city of Centennial. City of Centennial says, oh, that's too close to the edge of the border. That you need to take care of that with Littleton. Okay, I'm not getting any help from the city or the cities. So I contacted the principal of the school, and I said, I'm noticing something that's a trend, and my children both go to Powell Middle School, and at least once a week, one of my kids will say they almost got hit by a car because that car was speeding down Corona Way. So the principal was like, well, I'm not sure it's that much of a problem. I said, well, it was when we had fall break and they didn't. So I invited the principal to join me at the corner looking down Corona Way. And he's like, that car's got to be doing 65 miles an hour. I said, yeah, I'm not lying. I said, you have to protect the kids. What do we need to do to get a flashing school zone sign? So finally, both the city of Littleton and the city of Centennial, because they both share Powell Middle School, even though it's part of Littleton Public Schools, came out and did a traffic survey. And their traffic engineer was stupid enough to email me the raw data. And it's basically one of those sensors that, You've seen the high score sign out here. You know, try and get the high score and then it turns off as soon as you go too fast. So a lot of times those are out there, they're monitoring what traffic's doing, and that actually will tell the city, we need to put a police officer out during these times because this is when we're getting higher rates of speed. So then someone gets pulled over. If you get a ticket, or if you're on any of the map apps, everyone's putting there's a police check ahead so everyone knows to go that speed. And they're like, look, we're abiding by the law, officer. So they sent me the raw data, and he puts that the average speed was this. And I'm looking at the raw data, and I know how to use Desmos. And they collected data for about 10 days. So I put all the raw data into Desmos, and I got the average speed was much higher. In fact, at 317 to 325 every day, there were 2 cars that were able to get up to 90 miles an hour each day that there was school in session. So I run the data, and my average comes out much higher than what the traffic engineer, you're truly an engineer, had said. And so I contacted the traffic engineer. I said, I'm a little puzzled by your statistics. He goes, well, I did it right. And I said, well, please understand I have a degree in math, and so I know how to do math as well. And I'm showing the average of this. He goes, what about these high rates of speed right here? No, when you do this, you get rid of the outliers. You don't take the outliers? No, that's how you do statistics. Where did you get your math education? The back of a Lucky Charms box or something? Oh, I'm offended you said that. Said, no, I'm offended that you are lying and that you're incompetent. So I talked to the person's boss. I said, look, this is what your traffic engineer that you're paying $150,000 plus a year to go and say that this is right or wrong. They're not doing math correctly. So the city manager was looking at it. He's like, so you read all this data? Yeah. How do you know how to do this? I teach statistics. Well, my engineer says it's right. It's right. I have a degree in math. I have a master's degree in math. Your engineer is an idiot. And if somebody goes and gets harmed because the incompetence of your traffic engineer, I have no problem letting that family know that's grieving. Hey, look, this is a report. Here's the emails back and forth from your office, and that family will own either the city of Littleton or the city of Centennial. All of a sudden, flashing school zone signs put in place. And they were all disgruntled about it, like, oh, I mean, I can't believe it. It's like, yeah, there's big enough math geeks out there that'll sit there and challenge stuff, including this guy. But they truly had outliers, and their engineer truly said, you get rid of that outlier. You don't worry about it. You don't do the data set with the outlier. No, you should investigate an outlier and determine what the heck's going on. The outliers in that case were those people that are getting up to 90 miles an hour in a 25-mile-an-hour zone. So it was pretty pathetic. Needless to say, 10 years after I did that, I moved. So we're not worried about that anymore.
What year was that?
No, it would have been.
Not that long.
Let's see. Leah is in graduate school, so she graduated high school 5 years ago. 13, 12, 13, somewhere in there.
2012.
Yeah, 2000. So yeah, I played the game, and I'm not a real nice person, especially when I realize I'm gonna make someone look stupid, and especially if it's gonna go in the harm's way of a kid. I'm gonna make them really look stupid. That's just who I am. I mean, I'm a nice guy, but I defend kids at all costs. That's just me. I've told neighbors who got all ticked off about, the guy across the street from me named Tony. He was mad that I made it a flashing school zone. He was older than me. I said, Tony, you like living in a neighborhood that doesn't have kids. You need to go move to the 55 and older community. You don't live in a neighborhood with kids. Oh, still you're a big jerk. You call me other names too. I'm like, oh, call me any name you want. School zone signs the best day. That's who I am. Oh, the New York Yankees, my favorite baseball team. Yeah, I'm that guy. Major League Baseball team since 1903 research studies the relationship between the number of wins the Yankees have in a season and the local economy looks like every season since 1903. Is there an outlier in the Yankees database? Well, the Yankees have only 59 wins in 1981. What does this qualify as an outlier? Outliers must be investigated. If the Yankees had a bad season, that's fine. However, the truth of their season was shortened by a players' strike that particular year. So they're investigating that particular outlier. You know, why did they not have as many wins? Well, if there was a players' strike, that you cancel the season. Okay? So they actually had, in that season, won more games than they had lost that season. Is it reasonable to include this value with the rest of the data? Okay, they're saying, no, it isn't. It violates the assumption behind the rest of the data. Okay, so now I'm giving you contradictory information. Okay, when can you eliminate an outlier? Well, in this case, the season was cut short. You didn't have as many games played. Okay, so eliminated that type of outlier, but this is what you have to do, my friends. If you eliminate an outlier, you have to let the reader know that I eliminated this particular value because this took place, this incident took place. It'd be the same thing like if you were to talk about the COVID years. Okay, you remember those times you got to sit in your basement and you told your teacher that your camera didn't work so you could play on your PlayStation? Remember those days? And then we came back and we all had to wear a mask and that was fun. We didn't know if people had teeth or not. Those were the good old days. So are there things that year that might have taken place that could be considered outliers? One, the number of people who passed away might have been much higher those years. Okay, so if you were looking at average number of deaths per year in the United States or any location in the world, you might consider that 2020, 2021 year the wrong data to look at. So you investigated, gosh, what happened during those years? Oh, there was COVID. Oh, they had a vaccine, but we don't trust vaccines because, you know, vaccines cause autism. What? No, they don't.
Cause autism?
Yeah. There's a study that says that the MMR vaccine causes autism. That's the measles, mumps, rubella. Measles used to qualify 6 million deaths a year in the United States alone.
Wow.
Yeah, it was big. It was bigger than COVID.
Measles?
Yeah, measles is
I
like.
think my dad got
Measles,
that at
measles is so infectious that if, let's say I had measles, I sneezed in here, and you guys came into this classroom 10 hours later, you could catch measles, even if I wasn't here any longer.
Crazy.
Yeah, it's a very infectious, contagious disease.
It's like
Do-
really
do-
dangerous.
Do you guys want to know the study, how the study worked for measles?
Oh.
Okay, a gastroenterologist. Gastroenterologist, let me explain to you what that is. That's the person that deals with the GI tract. Basically, from your mouth to your rectum and everything in between. You know what a rectum is? It's butthole.
Yeah.
Okay? So a gastroenterologist had a birthday party with 12 kids. Okay? He had a birthday party with 12 kids. It was for his child. Now, his child was special needs. Of the 12 kids that went to the party, all the kids that were friends with the special needs doctor's son, were also special needs. Okay? So the doctor talked to the parents and realized that all of the kids had the measles, mumps, rubella shot, and that 4 of the kids of the 12 have autism. So he published a paper based on an observation of 12 special needs children who had been vaccinated that were autistic. And this is where the huge scare came. And it came out saying, oh, you know, the MMR has thimerosal. That's a really dangerous drug. It has mercury in it. It's a really dangerous drug. Okay? Let me give you some data about the amount of mercury that was in the MMR vaccine. The amount of mercury in the MMR vaccine, you're subjected to more mercury, actually 1,000 times mercury that was in one vaccine of thimerosal that would be in one apple. I'm talking about the red things that you eat and you don't eat the core. Okay? So it's not the mercury. The thimerosal, yeah, that's an agent that keeps the virus alive, so you could be given a slightly lesser thing. So when they say vaccines cause autism, no, they don't. The internet's a great thing, but it's also a stupid thing because you get people who aren't bright enough to look past, oh, look, I found something. You guys know as well as I, we could probably find that chocolate ice cream is the most favorite ice cream on the internet. Agree? Now, we're going to get a handful of people that say, no, vanilla's best. Nope, I like peanut butter cluster. Everyone's going to have their own opinion on which ice cream. But on the same note, I could probably find that vanilla ice cream is the most favorite ice cream on the internet. Which one's correct? Probably neither. Okay? You can find whatever you want on the internet that's going to sway your opinion, or you're going to find something what your opinion you think your opinion is that will support your opinion. That is not research. That is not statistically significant. Yes, the internet's great. Look up stuff. Okay? But you're making an observation. You're not making something that you can make as a conclusion. Okay? Is this light out here at the right here outside our doors for the crosswalk? Is that stay a walk signal long enough? Well, you see a kid who's got, like one of those boots on his leg, and he's hobbling along, he's carrying, the biggest backpack on the planet, doesn't necessarily get all the way across the street, so a car beats his horn at it. Is that enough to say that that light doesn't stay green long enough for a person to walk across it?
No.
No. You made an observation going, oh man, that kid almost got hit by a car because he can't walk fast. Because he has a boot on his leg and has a backpack bigger than he should have.
But he's not.
Yeah, it's an outlying situation, so you investigate it. Okay? Oh my gosh, that's unfortunate that that kid wasn't fast enough to, he didn't get hit, but he got honked at, and then someone told me he's number one. Okay? But those are just observations. An observation is not something you can make as a conclusion, and that's the scariest thing about what statistics is, and that's what I want you to leave this class with. I want you to have an open mind. Yeah, you're going to hear all kinds of information. So if you pigeonhole yourself in and listen to that piece of information, you say that's what the truth is, that's where statistics needs to come in, and this is where your thought process has to come in. Now, don't get me wrong. You want to go conspiracy theories? Man, I love UFOs, Bigfoot. I love all that. Loch Ness Monster. Those are the best. I love hearing that stuff. Okay, do I have enough knowledge to go investigate something here or there? Maybe. Maybe not. Okay? I kind of want Bigfoot to be real. I really want UFOs to be real. I don't want to go research stuff, but I'm not going to sit there and say, I'm going to swear on my mother's life that UFOs are real. But don't get me wrong, I like seeing the UFO stuff. You guys ever watch that show, The Mystery of Skinwalker Ranch?
Oh, yeah.
Love that show. My favorite show, because it talks about something that I like.
Skinwalker Ranch.
Mystery of Skinwalker Ranch.
It's so intriguing, isn't it?
I love it. All right. So my friends, what I'd like to assign is, I think you're fine not doing page 117. So I'd like you to do, it's 10.1 or 1-10. What page is this on in your books? My book.
127.
127 is where it starts?
Yeah.
Okay, 127, 128. Okay? I feel that if you just do 128, you get the gist of the lesson. Okay? Don't worry about doing page 127. Will you remind me that I didn't have you do 127 on Monday? Because I'm going to forget because I'm dumb. Cool.